Put yourself at the top of your to-do list. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this week's episode. I'm super pumped to talk to you guys. I did believe I was going to be reporting back from Arkansas, and life has a way of happening and things happening. And so I'm actually in Georgia and heading down to Florida tomorrow. So I will be this next 2 episodes from Georgia, and then I will be reporting from Florida for a couple months from there on assignment. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about this week on this week's episode is, putting yourself first and putting yourself at the top of your to-do list. And why is that important? And why am I saying that? And so coming off of a week where, my oldest daughter, Britt, had surgery, I spent a lot of time this last 7 to 10 days with the grandkids, and really just like walking in her life for a change, a day in her life versus a day in the life of Monica Morgan. And, what did that mean, or what did that look like, and how did that feel? And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit, because I think all people, not just women, but women in particularly, we have a lot of jobs, and we, not only often are we running a full-time job, but we are, really executors of our households, and, dinner plans and groceries and laundry, and all of those things really boil down to, what tasks we have to complete. And unfortunately, a lot of us put ourselves last. And so we're the last to get nurtured. We're the last to get the needs that we might have. And so, I saw that quote this week, and I thought, what, that's a really great topic. Let's talk about putting ourselves first, and why is that important? And so I love to tell the people on my team and my friends and my family that you can't pour from an empty cup. And, my daughter created this thing about spoons recently, and we've been using it in my circle of friends and in my family life, where, she would say, you have 10 spoons today. Everybody gets 10 spoons a day. And some days you wake up and you have a 3-spoon day, and some days you have a 9-spoon day. And so long story short is that when you run out of spoons, you're operating in a deficit, right? You're not taking care of you, and your cup is empty, and you have no more to give. And so how do we combat that? And so after being a G mama for 7 days straight, and, running the household, I was fortunate that I was able to be off work and really focus on the family and what the family needed. But I also had my husband there to help. And so he was the chef for the week, and he planned the meals and made sure everybody was fed and the dinner was cooked and all of those things. And so that was really great. And I was in charge of, really laundry. I did endless amounts of laundry. As you can imagine, a family of 5 has a lot of laundry. And, taking care of the baby and making sure the grandkids had what they needed and got to where they needed to be. And they had appointments, and they had summer camp, and they had, activities. And so it was validating for Brittany, and awesome, because she was like, Mom, I love it when you come, because it validates how I feel. And when someone else gets to walk a mile in my shoes to see what my day-to-day looks like, and why, does my cup runneth over, my plate runneth over, and why do I, have so much to do, but can only get X amount of things done. And, that's bled over to some of my employees. I've got, my business is Pivotal Companies is booming. I'm happy to report that, and super grateful and thankful. But I have employees that are moms as well, and we're traveling extensively, and we're deployed a lot. And so, a lot of times we don't take time to do what's necessary for us. And whether you're male or female, it doesn't really matter. I think it just depends on what your life looks like, and what, things that you have to accomplish in a day. And that varies for different people. And really making time for the things that are important to you. I love to say that you can't, be your best you for others if you're not your best you for yourself. And that sometimes can feel selfish, and it can feel like, you're not putting others first. But, how good could you be if you really got the good night's sleep that you deserved and wanted? And if you said no to that one load of laundry that night, and yeah, it means you have an extra load tomorrow, but guess what? You're going to have more energy tomorrow and be less exhausted and less run down. And, as women, we juggle a multitude of things, and that involves, your 9-to-5 job. if you have one, or you're running your own business, which is way more than a 9 to 5 job. And, or if you are, then a mom, and depending on the ages of your children and the needs of your children, if you've got a baby in the mix, that holds a whole new, they need regimen, and they need to stick to their schedule and their sleep schedule so that you can sleep and that they're their best they can be. But then you add other littles into that as well, and they have the needs. They've got to have their clothes and their camp stuff and their backpacks and their water bottles, and oh, but by the way, they're having ice cream come visit and they need money for that day, at camp or whatever it is. And so I really just wanted to take some time this week and really reiterate the importance of putting yourself first and making time for you, and for you to not feel guilty about it. And, something that I've really been working on a lot this summer, it feels like summer just started, but it also feels like it's been a while of summer. So I guess spring and summer, is that it's not selfish to take care of yourself and to not feel guilty about it. And guilt is a self-inflicted emotion. And that's my new thing that I've been honing on, and is guilt. And there is mom guilt out there. Moms feel guilty for sending their kids to school during a pandemic, for, not being able to attend certain things because they're growing their career so they can provide for their family. And I constantly am talking to a variety of women in all different stages of their life. And it's just the nature of my life, is I interact with a ton of different people, and women are, encompass a lot of that volume of people that I'm talking to. And they always are feeling guilty about something. And so, I've been very quick to say to them often, and a lot, is that, it's self-inflicted. Stop telling yourself that you feel guilty about something that you really don't have any right to feel guilty about. And, at the end of the day, if you had a successful day and achieved and accomplished what you feel is successful to you, and your kids are fed and they're bathed, and or maybe they're not bathed that day, and that's okay, no judgment. But if they are, really looking at the wins for the day and not beating yourself up for all the things that you didn't do. Maybe you forgot a dose of medicine. It's going to be okay. Maybe you forgot to fill a water bottle, or to be able to find the correct shoes that the child wanted to wear that day, because the child has an adamant personality. They like what they like and they want what they want. And, it's just a lot of demand on women. And so I wanted to stop and take a moment and talk about guilt, and talk about putting yourself first, and why that's important. And in my opinion, and my thought process is that, I'm going to dial it back to, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so if you do not make the time and make yourself a priority and put yourself at the top of your to-do list, how are you going to be all of the things that are commanded of you? How are you going to win at that? You're going to always beat yourself up and beat yourself down and really feel like you're not being successful or being the best that you can be. And I don't want anyone, I don't want it for my daughters. I don't want it for my team members or my employees. I don't want people to feel like they're not winning at life. We get one chance and that's it. And you got to make the most of it. And so, I've been talking about me turning 50, and it's rapidly arriving at the end of this month. And, for myself, I talked about this previously, but had to take some time and think about what was important to Monica. And I think, a couple episodes I talked about that, and really, really dialing into that. What do you need to feel successful? I spent some time this past week asking my team members, what does success mean to you? Because it's different for everyone. And sometimes it's monetary. Sometimes it's title driven. Sometimes it's, winning at getting the kids to where they need to be on time, and showing up and doing your job and feeling like you achieved goals that you had set for yourself for the day. And so I want to challenge each of the listeners with this week's episode to really take some time and think about you and what you need and what makes you feel successful. And how are you going to make an effort, a conscientious effort, to put yourself at the top of that to-do list that you have, and not feel guilty about it, because you're a person and you have, you deserve to be happy and you deserve to have those wins. And I think that we often get caught up in our day to day and the grind of the and going through the motions that it can become challenging to feel like you're winning at life. You just kind of get in the motion of the day to day and the monotony of it. And you're like, okay, let's do this again tomorrow and then again tomorrow. And if you will take some time for yourself, whether that be going to dinner by yourself. I have one of my best friends. She goes to the movies. She's a movie buff. I love movies too. My friend goes to the movies almost every Tuesday by herself. And her husband doesn't love movies, so he doesn't go with her. She has the movie pass all summer long, and she's ready for those new releases. But you know what? Kudos to her for doing that. She's putting herself first. She's giving herself something that she enjoys. And I love that for her. And I think that more women should make conscientious efforts to do that. And not just women, but men as well. There's a lot of men that carry the household and carry, the kids and all of those things. So I don't want to ever discount that. But, you deserve X amount of things in your life, and you deserve to be happy, and you deserve to have and feel a sense of accomplishment. And so, for me, there's things that I very much enjoy that I've missed during the pandemic. I am a massage lover. I love getting a massage. It's something I miss a lot. I did have a massage envy plan that I would go all the time, or if I was ever in a place where it had a salon or spa that I could get a massage, I was there. I was getting my nails and feet done every 2 weeks without fail. I was hitting the hair salon. And so obviously I need to do that again post pandemic, but I just haven't made the time to do those things as we come out of this pandemic. And a lot of us are changed from the pandemic. And for me, it gave me an opportunity to dial into what's important and what matters, and then to make a conscientious effort each week to do something that's important for me, and that to not feel guilty about that, and to know that I can still win and be successful and be proud of what I'm doing and what what I'm putting out into the world. And so, really, I don't want to elaborate on it too much, because I think that, I would be repetitive, but I really just wanted that quote this week really resonated with me. And I wanted to talk about it with you all, because I want to see each and every person make time for the things that bring value and create success and feel important to you. And so I'm going to leave you guys this week on that note. I know we're running probably a little bit short for our episodes, but I just want to say, if you give this podcast a listen and you think of something that you've done for yourself that others maybe could do for themselves, hit it with a comment. Let us know. I would love to hear from you guys. How are the ways that you're making sure that your cup is full? How are you making sure that you're winning and you feel successful? How are you setting aside time for yourself? And then additionally, every time you start to feel that guilt, remember that it's a self-inflicted emotion and remove it, because you're worth it. I've said this to you guys, and I'll say it a million more times before this is ever over. You are responsible for the outcome of your life and for your happiness and your success. And only you can bring that to fruition for yourself. And I very much and very, very deeply believe that any of us could accomplish anything we set our minds to if we choose to. And so it's really up to you. So fighting the guilt and fighting for that piece of what you need to be successful is critical and important. And that's really, the lesson from today. And I'll give you one more story before I end is, I was talking to Brittany, and she's now a family of 5. And that means that she has 20% to give. She has 20% for her spouse, 20% for each child, and 20% for herself. And so I want you to look at your time and your schedule and your life like that and think, what percentage am I giving to myself? Or am I leaving myself out completely? And for me, I left myself out a lot throughout the years. And in my more recent years, I guess with age comes wisdom, I have made conscientious efforts to do what's important for Monica, and that's going to help Monica feel good, because when Monica feels good, Monica delivers better. And that's the key here. You're going to be at the very top of your game if you take time for you and you really make time to put things that are important to you at the top of your list and do that for yourself. So I'm going to leave you guys on that note with this message for the week. I again thank you for joining. I can't wait to talk to you soon from Florida. And I hope you guys all have a great week. Hey guys, if you like this episode, please hit like and subscribe.